5 consejos de Elon Musk para emprendedores. Recientemente el fundador de Tesla se convirtió en el hombre más rico del mundo, pues su patrimonio superó los 188.500 millones de dólares. Elon Musk se convirtió en la persona más rica del mundo después de que su patrimonio superó los 188.500 millones de dólares, de acuerdo con el índice de multimillonarios de Bloomberg. Esto se dio el jueves 7 de enero cuando las acciones de Tesla, su compañía de automóviles eléctricos, aumentaron en 6%. Con solo 12 años, Musk creó y vendió un videojuego. Desde entonces ha fundado cerca de una decena de grandes empresas, abarcando campos tan dispares como el transporte, la inteligencia artificial o la neurociencia. A lo largo de su vida empresarial, Elon Musk ha brindado diversos consejos. A continuación, recopilamos 5 de ellos que podrían impulsar a los emprendedores que están encaminando su primer negocio. 1. Contrata a personas afines con tu negocio. Al aumentar los miembros de tu equipo, debes asegurarte de que encajen bien con tu equipo. En el Hangout, Musk hizo hincapié en la importancia del trabajo de grupo y la alineación de las expectativas desde el principio. Creo que es importante que todos entiendan exactamente cuál es la misión, cuál es el objetivo y que, cuando se unen a la empresa, acepten ese objetivo general, aseguró Musk. Mientras esas metas estén claramente delineadas y entendidas, hace que no se unan a una empresa por un salario o algo por el estilo, sino porque creen en lo que la compañía está haciendo. 2. Concilia las diferencias. Pese a que es imprescindible que los colaboradores compartan la visión de la empresa, los miembros de un equipo a veces pueden pelearse. Musk recomienda que, si un miembro de tu personal comienza a comportarse de una manera que no se alinea con la cultura de su empresa, hables con la persona y expliques el problema. En la mayoría de los casos, dijo, la persona cambiará su comportamiento, pero si no lo hacen, debes estar preparado para dejarlos ir. 3. Ensúciate las manos. Musk explicó que, como líderes, los emprendedores tienen que lanzarse a trabajar donde sea necesario para mantener a flote la compañía. Tienes que hacer todo tipo de trabajos y tareas que no desees hacer, que no son intrínsecamente interesantes para ti, dijo el Hangout de Gle. Tienes que estar preparado para hacer lo que sea necesario, trabajar a cualquier hora. Ninguna tarea es demasiado baja. Creo que esa es la actitud correcta para el CEO de una startup. 4. Solicitar retroalimentación. Iniciar un negocio es un proceso en el que se cometen tanto errores como aciertos. En medio de un Hangout de agosto de 2013 organizado por Gle4 Entrepreneurs, Musk hizo hincapié en la importancia de pedir consejo. Toma tantos comentarios de la mayor cantidad de personas que puedas sobre cualquier idea que tengas, dijo. Busca comentarios críticos. Pregúntales qué está mal. A menudo tienes que dibujarlo de una manera matizada para descubrir qué está mal. 5. Acepta la crítica constructiva. En la misma conferencia, Musk menciona que la crítica constructiva que otros te dan es invaluable. Pese a que estas son difíciles de escuchar, es mejor interiorizarlas profesionalmente pues contribuirán con en el proceso de aprendizaje.
People are starting a company to expect a long period of high difficulty.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as people stay super focused on creating the absolute best product or service that really delights their end customer, if they stay focused on that, then if you get a sense that your customers want you to succeed, then you can't do it.
You have to focus on the customer and delivering for them.
Yeah, make sure if your customers love you, your odds of success are dramatically higher.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd say starting a business is not for everyone. So generally, starting a business, I'd say number one is have a high pain threshold. That's it. There's a friend of mine who's got a good saying, which is that starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. Okay, that's generally what happens, because when you first start a company, there's lots of optimism and things are great. And then, so happiness at first is high. Then you encounter all sorts of issues, and happiness will steadily decline. And then you'll go through a whole world of hurt. And just have to be focused on the short term and money coming in when creating a company, because otherwise the company will die. So I think that a lot of times people think like creating a company is going to be fun. I would say it's not. It's really not that fun. I mean, there are periods of fun, and there are periods of where it's just awful. And particularly if you're the CEO of the company, you actually have a distillation of all the worst problems in the company. There's no point in spending your time on things that are going right. So you only spend your time on things that are going wrong. And there are things that are going wrong that other people can't take care of. So you're like the worst. You have a filter for the crappiest problem in the company. The most pernicious and painful problem. So I wouldn't say it's I think you have to feel quite compelled to do it. And have a fairly high pain threshold. And there's a friend of mine who says like starting a company is like staring into the abyss and eating glass. And there's some truth to that. The staring into the abyss part is that you're going to be constantly facing the extermination of the company. Because most startups fail. It's like 90%, or 99% of startups fail. So that's the staring into the abyss part. You're constantly saying, okay, if I don't get this right, the company will die. It can be quite stressful. And then the eating glass part is you've got to do the problems. You've got to work on the problems that the company needs you to work on, not the problems you want to work on. So that's you end up working on problems that you really wish you weren't working on. So that's the eating glass part. And that goes on for a long time.
So how do you keep your focus on the big picture when you're constantly faced with you could be out of business in a month?
Well, it's just a very small percentage of mental energy is on the big picture. Like you know where you're generally heading for, and the actual path is going to be some sort of zigzaggy thing in that direction. And try not to deviate too far from the path that you want to be on. You're going to have to do that someday. But I don't want to diminish the. I mean, I think the profit motive is a good one if the rules of the industry are properly set up. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with profit. In fact, profit just means that people are paying you more for whatever you're doing than you're spending to create. That's a good thing. And if that's not the case, then you'll be out of business and rightfully so. You're not out of money.
You have the same fun from innovation as from business, running a business?
Well, I mean,
or would
I guess,
you rather to be just an innovator, engineer, instead of a business owner or runner?
I mean, I'd love to just do innovation work and just do engineering. But you raise a good point, because a lot of life in general, in any job, there's like you have to do your chores. There's
because nobody else can do that for you, right?
Well, I think to be successful at almost anything, you have to do the tough stuff and as well as the enjoyable stuff. You have to do the boring stuff as well as the non-boring stuff. And if you don't do your chores, then bad things will happen. But if they don't do the things that they don't like to do, then the company will be in trouble. Like you have to, you basically, like it's more fun to cook the meal than to clean the dishes. Okay, but you need to clean the dishes.
You need to do both.
Yes, you need to do both, exactly.
At Tesla, your goal has been to make a better car. And you've done that with an electric vehicle that people covet, that has quite a cult following, that's upgradable. But you also want to achieve, and your turn of phrase is very nice, or try to achieve this platonic ideal of a car, right? To reach perfection. So what does the perfect car look like?
Well, I do use that phrase with our engineering design team, that aspirationally, we're in pursuit of the platonic ideal of the perfect car. And here's what that looks like.
you want to try to make every element of the car as flawless as possible. And there will always be, some degree of imperfection, but try to minimize that and create a car that is just delightful in every way. And I think if you do that, then the rest kind of takes care of itself.
Whatever you're doing is a great product or service. It has to be really great. And I go back to what I was saying earlier, where if you're a new company, unless it's like some new industry or new market that, if it's an untapped market, then you have more ability to do this. The standard is lower for the product service. But if you're entering anything where there's an existing marketplace against large entrenched competitors, then your product or service needs to be much better than that. It can't be a little bit better, because then you put yourself in the shoes of the consumer, and they say, why would you buy it as a consumer? You're always going to buy the trusted brand unless there's a big difference. So a lot of times, entrepreneur will come up with something which is only slightly better, and it can't just be slightly better. It's got to be a lot better. Number 3, I'd say, is constantly seek criticism. A well thought out critique of whatever you're doing is as valuable as gold. And you should seek that from everyone you can, but particularly your friends. Usually your friends know what's wrong, but they don't want to tell you because they don't want to hurt you. So they say, oh, I would encourage my friends, so I'm not going to tell them what I think is wrong with this product. It doesn't mean your friends are right, but very often they are right. And you at least want to listen very carefully to what they say. And to everyone, you're looking for, basically, you should take the approach that you're wrong. That you, the entrepreneur, are wrong. Your goal is to be less wrong.